everybody. Welcome back to Igniting Change, United Way Unfiltered. I'm your host, Ginny Hoyle, and with us today is Tennille Call. She is our Director of Education at United Way of Southeastern Idaho. Welcome, Tennille.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ginny.
It's so good to see you.
It is great to be here.
Thanks for coming. So today, I thought we would talk about our education focus at United Way, and then I thought it might be fun to talk about Read, Talk, Play.
Absolutely. It's my favorite topics.
Amazing. So let's talk about first maybe why does United Way focus on education? Why is that important?
So United Way, we're really focused on really helping families, right? And to support our community and to support people. And education is such an integral part of that for families and for people to be able to have access to education, to be able to have quality access to education. And so specifically, a lot of our efforts lately are on early learning because we believe that the success of kiddos and their opportunity for early learning leads to future success, and then they can build upon that in their lives.
So when you talk about access to education, if someone isn't familiar with preschool and the whole situation, what does that mean? It seems like everybody has access to public education. So what are we talking about?
Right. So preschool really, it never used to be something that families just did. It was something that, only a few people did. And so first access to education would just be that more and more families are able to access education either with teaching with tools in their home to be able to help prepare their kiddos for kindergarten, or access to programs that are existing in the area. Access to education also means that preschools are expensive. They're not like private or public school where everybody can access it through tax dollars and things like that. And so it does cost money for families to take their kiddos to preschool. And that's an extra cost for families that usually people don't think is a priority or maybe can't be a priority in families. And so we want to be able to make sure that there is access to that if families are interested in having those opportunities, and also with the child care centers that there then is access to quality programs so that if parents are paying for their children to be in a preschool setting, that then the families also can access a quality program and feel good about the education their kiddos are getting at the program they're at.
Excellent. So with preschool, so I feel like if you are a member of the ALICE population, and United Way serves a subset of our region that is basically people who are working, they're employed, but they do not make enough money to make ends meet, meaning they are above the poverty level, but so they don't qualify for those federal programs, but they do not make enough. So it's a paycheck to paycheck, and one major thing could send things sideways. So for someone like that, a family like that here in Bannock County and the other 6 counties that we serve, that's a big deal, right? Like money for preschool, that's a huge barrier.
Absolutely. So there are programs like a Head Start program that do help those kiddos in poverty, but those families that don't qualify because they, like you said, make too much money, but then can't afford a private program, that is a huge barrier for families, and they might feel like that they can't access that. And that's something that we are trying to build at United Way, is a scholarship program for families to be able to, if they are interested, they should be able to have their kiddos be able to be in a program. And so we want to be able to make that possible through generous donations, through grant dollars, to create a scholarship program for those families to be able to attend.
Well, first of all, that's amazing.
So cool.
Amazing. Talk to us about American Falls. How did this get started? I mean, you don't go overnight to being able to provide preschool scholarships.
Right.
So tell me how this came to be.
So American Falls, 4 or 5 years ago, they were noticing that their kids were coming into school with only about 19% proficiency. So that means only about 19% of the kids that were coming into school were ready to start school.
For kindergarten.
Mm-hmm. And so they were like, oh, what can we do? What do we need to fix?
Yeah.
And so, the Read, Talk, Play program was born at that time as well, and we'll talk more about that, but it led into this preschool initiative out in American Falls. And that became a partnership between the school district and a lot of the private preschool programs, the Head Start, to really rally around and try and make sure that, number one, that there were enough preschool seats for anybody who would want to attend in American Falls, where it's a small community. You might not always have enough seats. But then also to be able to have access to that quality preschool program through not only those programs becoming quality by using a curriculum and things like that, making sure that they're having safe practices at their program, but then also through that funding of scholarships. We've been doing scholarships in American Falls for about 4 years now, and we have increased the number of students that have participated every year, which has been super exciting. We feel like that anybody who does want to access preschool is able to in American Falls. And this year this past year, we had almost the full amount of kids that could go to preschool that went to kindergarten. Everybody had pretty much gone to preschool. There was only a small percentage that hadn't. And so it's really, families are accessing this awesome program, and kids are showing that they're ready. And up from 4 years ago when they were 19% proficient, this year they started at 40% proficiency at the beginning of the year.
Wow.
Which is pretty incredible growth.
Wow. So 40% from 19%
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a few years ago.
Absolutely.
Gosh, that's overwhelmingly good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're seeing too, as kids they're not only starting more proficient and more ready, but as we watch these scores, kids are just becoming proficient quicker and ending the year a lot higher than they were in past years. So we're just watching these kids. If we give them that good foundation, then they just like grow and blossom and bloom, and it's so exciting to see.
So what does that mean for a child who maybe wouldn't have been ready, didn't have access to the preschool program, now through a scholarship is able to go to preschool? What does that mean for that child?
Hopefully, just like we want to watch and see this like major future success for these kiddos. But I think that right now, the things that we can see is that not only are those kids just feeling more confident in their schooling, they're not being labeled as, behind as early and already having that label put on them, but then also I feel like families are becoming more and more empowered to just take on that role as being their kid's first and best teacher, and really just like being so like empowered to be able to do that on their own and to be able to help them and support them and do those things. We're so busy in our world right now. I think people think it takes a lot of extra time or they don't have time for those things. But through all of this, people are realizing how simple and easy it is to really give those kids the best foundation that we can.
Is that the feedback that you all in American Falls District are hearing? Is that the feedback from parents?
Absolutely.
What does that sound like if a parent runs into you or Superintendent Randy Jensen? What does that sound like?
I think everybody just is, how do I sign up? How do I get my kiddo involved in this? At the beginning, we were really trying to you really want to be part of this. You really want to participate. And it took a lot of effort from us to find those families.
Yeah.
And now families are just ready. They're just primed to be able to sign up and ready.
It's amazing. So if I understand things correctly, in addition to American Falls, now you all are expanding out the scholarship program to Pocatello-Chubbuck School District. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's looking a little bit different. American Falls is a small community. It's a different vibe, there's a lot less programs that exist in American Falls than in Pocatello. So right now we're starting with partnering with 6 preschools in Pocatello-Chubbuck area. Those families that go to those programs, those programs have received curriculum, and so they're increasing their curriculum and their quality. So those families that participate in those programs are receiving that. We are working to expand that scholarship program out here to American Falls. Right now, we only have a few scholarships available, but as we have more interest and as we grow that program and get more funders and get more help to be able to provide those scholarships, then we just see that the trajectory of what has happened in American Falls really make a huge impact here in Bannock County.
So taking everything that you all learned in the pilot program in American Falls and the just rampant success and the community buy-in, we're looking to expand that to District 25 and maybe further out in the future. We'll
Absolutely,
see. And
yeah.
this is the first year for Pocatello. and
Yes.
Chubbuck School District, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And tell me a little bit more about two things. The first is if someone is interested in learning more, either as a parent or a guardian or as someone who, a corporation or someone who is interested in contributing to this effort, what should they do?
Absolutely. I think right now in Pocatello, reaching out to United Way, reaching out to me, Tennille at United Way can help with all of your questions about the education and how we're expanding out. Same with businesses. If you're interested in scholarshiping or being part of it, it's over $1,000 a year for average for these kiddos to be able to attend. And so businesses are able to, donate some money or start with our scholarship program. We're hoping to expand that program out. And not solely rely on grant funding that is unreliable year to year, but really have those solid scholarships from our local businesses really to help support that future economy that we have.
Amazing. So we'll put the United Way website in the show notes, unitedwaysci.org, and we'll make sure that we have your contact information in the show notes as well. But I want to go back to what you said about being your child's first teacher. Tell me about that. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think we had in American Falls, we noticed we started getting parents involved, and specifically one parent that I have in mind, she was really interested in helping her kids. She was had been educated herself. She had done a lot of things professionally and had a lot of skills under her belt. But when it came to helping her kids, she felt inadequate. She didn't feel like she was able to be the expert for those kids. And she is the expert. She knows her kids better than anybody else. And so really to take somebody like that who feels like they're inadequate, that they're not able to do it, and really just empowering back those parents. Parents are their kids' first and best teacher. They know their kids better than anybody else. Their kids are more comfortable around them than anybody else. And so the growth that can happen in that home environment is ginormous. And so we really want to make sure that parents do know that really that is an awesome, awesome place for kids to start and to get that foundation and that footing. But we do want parents also to make sure that they have the support around them if they're not able to do that. If they're working families and have multiple jobs, if they have many children at home and aren't able to give the time that they need, then we also want those preschool programs to be a great option for families who are interested in that as well.
That's so empowering because it is sort of the first thought that, gosh, I don't have the curriculum, I don't have the workbooks, I don't have XYZ.
Right.
But in reality, what do you have to do?
Read, talk, and play with your kids every day.
That's amazing.
Really, that's it.
So that's the idea behind the Read, Talk, Play initiative, right?
Absolutely.
So what does that mean? And how long do you need to do that? Because the first question can be but how long do I read? How long do I play? How long do I talk?
Right. We say, there's a lot of different research out there that says a lot of different things, but we say 10 minutes a day. If you have 10 minutes with your kid, that can be mealtime, bedtime, when you're getting them ready in the morning. Read, talk, and play can be done in the car. It can be done as you're driving all of your other kids to their activities, as you're counting train cars, as you're counting the fruit snacks, or saying the colors of the goldfish as you're eating the goldfish snack. Really, any of those times throughout the day, if you have bedtime stories at night, so powerful for the kids. And not only to read it, but to have the conversation about it, to talk about the things that are happening in the book, and maybe about reaction on the characters' faces, things like that. Just really leaning into those moments and making those small moments of the day very impactful.
See, that sounds so doable, right? You read, you talk, you play with your child every day.
Absolutely.
So this campaign is really for parents to keep that in your forefront of your mind of, have I read to the kids today or to my child today? Have I played with them today? Have I talked to them today?
Yeah.
And I think that's genius, honestly.
And really, right now, especially in our busy world, but then also our super techie world, right? Mm-hmm. Kids are really zoned into tablets and to screens a lot of their day.
Totally.
Which can be great. There can be learning games and there can be things that they're doing there. but we're missing out on that person-to-person connection that really drives home that learning. And we really want those kids to be able to have those interactions. And so those other things are great and fine, but making sure that those personal interactions are happening every day.
Yes. And parent or guardian, you are the child's first teacher.
Absolutely.
You are the one telling them how the world works. You are the one. And it's, I think, both empowering, the Read Talk Play, but also such an honor, right? To realize that, because you don't think about yourself being a teacher as a parent, but you are.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times we think, oh, it's just kindergarten. That they don't need to know a lot yet until when they get to kindergarten.
Exactly.
But really, if they have some of those conversational foundational knowledge, if they're able to have those conversations, if they're able to learn and follow directions and to play and all of those things, then once they get to school, they're ready to be there. And then that knowledge just absorbs like a little sponge, and those teachers are ready to receive them. But the more we can do as parents to prepare them, the better.
And that's not dictated by how much money you make.
No.
Right?
No,
Anyone
absolutely.
can do this.
Right. You don't need to have any toys or anything like that. The library has lots of resources with books and things like that. You can check out books in your local library. Even we've created some Read Talk Play kits that are at some of the surrounding libraries. Both Marshall, Portneuf libraries have them. Snake River Library. Bancroft has some kits on American Falls as well. And so those kits have all the things that a family might need. It's books, toys, little felt figures that they can tell stories with. If the parents feel like they need something. But you can read, talk, and play with the spoons and forks that you set your table with. You can do it with the clothes when you're putting your kiddos' clothes on in the morning and talking about what colors they are. Anything like that, with just the environment that you have at home. But there also are resources if you're interested in additional things.
Awesome. So if you're curious, or if you just want a little bit of guidance, or if you just think it would be cool to have, you can go to your local library, and I'll put the ones that we have kits in currently.
Perfect.
In the show notes. You can go and check out like you would a book.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I think too, sometimes changing it up for mom and dad is as important as changing it for the kids, right? Sometimes as parents, we're like, oh, I don't want to read that book again. We've read it 700 times, right? So really, switching things up is good for us and our kids.
And that's all free, right?
Free.
At the library.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I've noticed that with my kids, I have a 4 and a 7-year-old, sometimes just putting a toy in the back seat with them, taking that with them, not bringing the tablets. This is just something I've been experimenting with at home, bringing toys, let them pick 2 toys, and then in the back seat, they're doing it.
I love that so much because we do spend a lot of times in the car, right? I mean, between picking up and dropping kids off, errands that we're running, we spend a lot of time in the car. That is a great strategy.
Thanks.
Good job, Jen.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So talk to us about these sweet T-shirts. Because I see them everywhere.
I hope we see them everywhere. I want everyone to wear them everywhere. So we've created a bunch of different colors of T-shirts. Currently, we have some blue ones at United Way. If you don't have one and want one, make sure you check us out. Come over to United Way and grab one. We're ready to just give you whatever Read Talk Play swag.
So cool.
But in American Falls, Read Talk Play Day is on Wednesday.
Okay.
So the whole community wears their Read Talk Play shirts. You see flags around town. We want everybody to be wearing them. Pocatello, we don't want to cross paths with Bengal Wednesday.
Yeah,
we want to
no,
make sure
Bengal
that
Wednesday.
stays Bengal Wednesday. So we're using Thursday in Bannock County as Read Talk Play Day. And so far we have quite a few organizations, community members wearing their shirts on Thursdays. So if you see them around on Thursdays, somebody told me the other day that they connected with somebody at the grocery store because they had the same shirt on. So
Amazing.
it's becoming a way to connect with people and to remind people. It's pretty cool.
And how do kids feel about it?
When they see these shirts, they're like, I have that shirt, or I've seen that. My kids call them the happy shirts.
The happy shirt.
Which just like warms my heart because it makes me so happy. And so I'm glad that they feel that vibe, and that it's happy to them. But
My boys love the design, and they kind of think I work at Read Talk Play.
I think we all should work at Read Talk Play.
That's true, we do. We work Read Talk Play.
I actually told a kid in my neighborhood the other day, he had his on, and I said, that's where I work.
Okay, perfect.
Right? I think it's just an easy way to show, that we're connected with this work. And his mom even said, well, I think I want to get involved. So it's been awesome to be able to see not only kids respond, but families are getting excited about it as well.
And I've noticed too, it's expanded beyond just teachers and parents who happen to have the shirt from an event.
Right.
I was in American Falls the other day last week, and I went to the Damn Pizza. Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
And the server had it on.
Yes.
And I asked her about it. She's like, yeah. She's like, this is what we do. We wear this.
Yes. I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just become, in American Falls, it's just become part of the culture. And Pocatello, we're slowly growing it that way. I think it's just making waves, and it's starting to gain momentum here, and it makes me really excited for the future.
Awesome. And so the more people wear them, the more people are like, oh, what is that? And then, we teach more about what it means to be your child's first teacher by reading, talking, and playing.
Absolutely.
And then it grows and grows. So last question. What do you think the butterfly effect of the preschool program, and maybe in particular Read Talk Play, what could this do for our communities?
I think, first of all, the main thing that we want is we want families to be strengthened. And I think that this reminds families to come together and to really strengthen each other, and really to spend that time and to, really just lean into those relationships and that time that you spend together. And so I think that strengthening families is humongous. But I think just as we're watching the data in American Falls, I know sometimes it's not always about numbers, but we are tracking some data in American Falls specifically as we started this program, and watching the success of these kids. And like I said, when kids would come to kindergarten and they were already labeled as below or not met target or whatever the language might be, that they're coming into kindergarten, they already have that target placed on them. But we know from research that we've done that the kindergarten readiness has little to do with a child's intelligence level and everything to do with their exposure. And so the more that we can expose families to these ideas and to families to adopt these things, then all kids are going to be able to start on a more level playing field when they start school. And then hopefully that just extends off to the rest of elementary school, middle school, high school. Maybe it will increase graduation rates. Maybe it will increase the going on rate. And families will be able to feel that support all the way through. And also I think that like we were talking about earlier, that butterfly effect of empowering families. Mm-hmm. And I think that just that idea of this might be hard, or this might be scary, or I might not be ready for it. But that's the simplicity of this logo, is really the simplicity of the program. That really people can see that logo and say, Read, Talk, Play every day. And that's all they need to do to understand the initiative.
Yes.
That it is simple and we don't need to overcomplicate it.
That's amazing. And I personally do that every day. I'm like, wait, have I read today?
Right,
I do it. It works.
Yeah.
And I think, one thing the last thing I'll say is that in addition to the preschool effect, you have the statistics, right? So 19% of our kids in American Falls were ready for kindergarten. Right. And by the year 4, 40% are ready. Now, one thing that we forgot to say, though, is that skyrocketed above the state average.
Absolutely,
right?
yes. Yes, they ended the year last year at 89% proficiency, which led the state. And that is a shocker for a community like American Falls that is very high poverty, that has multiple languages spoken, a lot of very rural, lots of families that Spanish is their first language, and maybe the only language that they speak at home. So these kids are coming to school and they're speaking English at school at least half the day. They do have dual immersion out there, which is awesome as well.
So good.
But really to see that growth in those kids and kids that come from all different backgrounds is really amazing.
That's so great. Tennille, I really admire the work that you all do, that you do specifically, and our partners at American Falls and all of our teachers and the school district for jumping in with us and letting us get involved. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close out?
I think, too, one thing with Read Talk Play, it doesn't have to just be for kids, right? When us adults should do it as well. All of us should be retalking and playing every day. And I think just what that could do for the community as well would be amazing.
I didn't think of that. That's awesome. Have I read today? Nope.
Right? I don't play very often. I mean, I like to read. I like to talk, obviously. But yeah, the playing. I'm like, it's time. It's time for me to play.
This is all so next level. So great. Thank you so much, Tennille.
Thank you, Jen.
This has been the Igniting Change Reading Talk.
It should be.
This has been Igniting Change, United Way, Unfiltered. And thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.